Welcome back, everybody, to the Boys in Motion podcast. I'm Tyler here with Brian and Andrew, and today we're going to talk about something every endurance athlete deals with, but no one really wants to talk about it. When your training just doesn't go to plan.
We're not just talking today about slightly off days. We're talking about full on, this is not happening today kind of sessions. Because if you're training consistently, it's not if this happens, it's about when this happens.
And the timing's pretty perfect because both Tyler and Brian had some pretty interesting, some would say rough time trials this past weekend. So we're going to be breaking it down, what exactly went wrong, how they decided to adjust mid-session, and what that means for them moving forward. So let's jump into it.
Yeah, where do we start? I guess the first point is just like, of course, we care about these big activities that we're doing. We're coming up to a race day and we're just kind of testing the waters with where our fitness is. And so, of course, we have expectations of where our fitness should be, what kind of splits we are able to run. And there's also a little bit of ego mixed in there of like what we've previously been able to do, what we're articulating to other people that we can do. And sometimes, those splits, those paces, they don't go to plan, and you need to make some adjustments. And I'm proud enough to say it still hit Strava. People still saw it in the feed, and Tyler, yours too. But it's never a good feeling to be in that first third of a workout when you just realize the wheels are coming off and it's not going to happen.
Yeah, like the wheels are coming off way too early, and then your mind is going a million miles a minute, and you're wondering what should I do next. And yeah, you're right. A part of me was like, do I even put this on Strava? Do I friggin' walk home? Do I ask for a ride? Yeah, all the things are going on in your head, and I feel like all of us had that, and at one point or another. And I guess I'm glad to see that maybe I wasn't the only one this past weekend that hit a low spot. But I mean, we went out there and tried it, and learned from it, of course. And I think, just a learning opportunity and a learning curve still to this day. So it's good things too.
Yeah, so I guess to add it on the record, speaking of expectations, we talk about tune-up races all the time. I did my Strava investigations. I would love to hear from you two kind of what the expectation of this was going in for listeners, because I'm sure a lot of them are kind of planning and tuning up for spring races themselves. So what that expectation was and what you were hoping to get out of that specific session you were doing over this past weekend. So let's start with you, Brian.
Yeah, so of course, going into a big time trial, I was aiming at a 10K. For me, there was the goal of sub 40. It's been on the radar for a while now. I think last marathon block, I thought I was nearly there. Strava is telling me that I'm there. It's usually around like high 38s, low 39s. So I'm kind of, it says I'm no longer teetering on the edge, but I should be kind of below that. And for me, this workout was one, trying to hit that, but two, also a point of data collection for where my fitness is going into the half marathon. If I were to have, nothing would have been easy about this session, but if I were to have blitzed that pace and been successful in hitting that sub 40, I might have had the argument to maybe push beyond just going for the 90-minute with the crew, and maybe would have tried to be more aggressive and actually go for a PR. So this bit of data, now that I failed this workout, kind of pushes me in the direction of like, go out at that 90-minute pace and then see what I can do in the second half when we're racing with people. So for me, having failed other workouts, it's not the end of the world, but it definitely, puts you in your place as you're going through that session and clearly seeing those splits just fade away. So for me, it was Saturday morning, setting the scene. I had a decent night's sleep, lots of carbs the day before, some pop, some pizza at Brad's Stag and Dough. And then, got up in the morning, very chill morning, coffee, kind of race warm up type of thing, and then set out on my way. And I immediately knew during my warm up that the wind was going to be an issue. I had the thought of like, oh, should I just adjust the planned course and just use this tailwind and get the 40-minute, but kind of cheat it, do like a point to point with the wind at my back. But I was like, no, I've committed to going and doing this on a loop. I think that's fair. And from the get-go, the wind was coming from the side, and in the first like 2K, as it was just the side wind, I was like clipping my heels every so often. So like the wind was quite strong. Then as soon as I turned the corner into the headwind, like 40 kilometers an hour wind, and it just stopped me in my tracks. Like when I was doing that first leg with the crosswind, 4 minutes felt pretty easy. Turned into the wind, it was harder to hold 4:30. And I knew the moment I turned into that headwind, it was just like probably not going to happen. And then as soon as that long headwind section was done, I was already about a minute up on my time, maybe actually more now that I think of it. And then the rain started coming, and it was just like, okay, not going to happen. But I committed to myself, like, I'm going to keep the legs moving, probably stick around my half marathon pace if I can keep the legs going with that. But I cooked myself on that headwind section and could never recover from it. So I feel like the conditions were a factor, but again, the fitness was not there to make that happen even on the best of days, is what I'm feeling like. But it definitely has lit a fire under my ass for after the half marathon to go and chase this sub 40.
That's funny how you say that, because we'll obviously dive deeper into this, but I kind of got the same result out of mine, is kind of lighting the fire, as in like trying to still chase that goal within the, let's call it bigger picture. So yeah, I mean, it seems like you saw it pretty early on that you couldn't hold that pace due to, the weather and of course the high winds. But I mean, still going out there and trying it must have been nice to feel, and then being like, hey, I'm feeling like this is going to be off pace, off target. Let's pivot literally mid run and continue to still put on an effort and just not freaking pack it in and go home. So that's still a good effort. When I saw your Strava post, I was like, what do you mean he's bonking? He still had a pretty
well,
good
that's
run.
it. And like, I think that's just how you frame it, right? I was able to quickly pivot from this is a PR attempt to I need to try to hold this effort as much as I can. Like, I've seen some huge workouts and great runs being put in by people like Mark McDuff, who are going to be in that like aiming for that 90 minutes. So I knew I needed to put in an effort to match what they put out the weekend previous. So I wasn't going to, sit down on the curb and let the wind blow by. I was going to push through it. And so I still feel like I had a decent fitness building session, but in terms of what it did mentally, it definitely reset my expectations with like what I'll be able to do on race day, which is good. I think it's good to have, flexibility when you're in those sessions, pushing at 100%, because if you're always achieving what you set out to do in endurance sports, you're probably not kind of reaching far enough, in my opinion. So this is a natural part of that progression, and yeah, using it as fuel for the next one.
Now, we chatted, you kind of talked about how you adjusted to go based on effort, which I think is a good thing. This is, just kind of that extra piece of data. You're dealing with hard conditions. You might deal with those on race day, but at the end of the day, this is not your a race. So getting that stimulus is important. But another thing that might happen is you might decide to cut the session or completely change the session or the thing that you were trying to do. And Tyler, I think you might fall into this bucket if my investigations are correct. So I would love to hear exactly what was going through your mind as you attempted another sub 25K. And I would love to hear exactly how that went for you.
Yeah, exactly. You basically, with the investigation skills, you hit it right on the head there. And yeah, I basically I'll do a fast forward, then again set the scene and retract and kind of spell the story out like Brian did. But yeah, it turned out that I pulled the plug early on, and actually I gave it a second attempt and pulled it again. So I guess for me, opposite of Brian, the weather was perfect. It was actually a super nice day out in Ottawa. I went out again as well the Saturday morning pretty early, had a good breakfast in, went to bed actually early as well, was feeling good, was actually fired up as well. I think a lot of these little efforts and TTs kind of you play mind games with yourself as well. So, I was in that. I was kind of, based on our conversation last week, I was not telling anybody that I was going to do it or attempt it. And I was hoping that I was just going to surprise everybody on Strava and just show up randomly with a 20-minute 5K. But of course, that wasn't the that wasn't the outcome. But I mean, yeah, big learning there. Like I learned that you could feel good and literally almost 100% and still have a bad workout the second you step out there. I guess looking back at it, I kind of set myself up for failure, as in not running at all that week and not running for probably 8 days before that. So that probably played a little bit of a role to that, let's call it 5K attempt Bosch. But yeah, I mean, it was, so I went to a local track, did a warm up, felt great, knew kind of my strategy going in. I was very clear on what I was going to do, kind of try to mix up from my past learnings of a 5K. Went out there, first 2 laps were hot, first lap was on target. Maybe I pulled the plug too early now that I'm saying it out loud, but second lap I was off target and I said, you know what, pull the plug, I'm going to try again. So I walked the lap, paused the watch, or actually stopped it. That's why you'll see a different activity. Paused the watch. I said, you know what, I'm going to retry this. I just started too hot and then slowed down really too quickly. And then second attempt, I went back out there, the same loop, obviously, on the track, and tried again. I think this time, I did another 2 laps. I was going, I think, on my third, and I just felt I think I'm not used to the heart rate being so high. So I felt very uncomfortable, but which is normal, I think, at a high heart rate, of course, and doing a 5K. It's just, I think I haven't felt comfortable yet with a higher heart rate than 175. And I honestly think that's the reason why I was pulling the plug so early. Maybe a bit of nerves as well, like just scared to do it and hold it. And yeah, so again, pulled the plug after 800 meters on the second attempt. But then I realized I was just going to treat it as an 800 meter repeat workout. So I did a 2-minute kind of like recovery kind of walk, 2-minute around half the track. And then I did another 800 at the 4-minute pace, which is a 5K pace. And then did another little cool down, another rest. And then I did 400 meters pretty fast to finish it. And then I just treated it as a workout. So I kind of knew after that double attempt, pull the plug, that I was just going to treat it as a workout and a learning opportunity.
Okay, I was curious about those multiple. I didn't quite know you. There was some description about the workout, but I didn't realize you went for a second attempt of like a stop. I thought you just went straight into the workout. So it's interesting that you were like, I want to give it another go.
I was ticked, so that's why you'll see the Strava descriptions not being that descriptive, because I was pissed in the moment. But yeah, I honestly tried the first time. Then I told myself, it was like my decision making was kind of hilarious in that moment. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to run home. Forget this. This sucks. But then I'm like, you know what? I'm out here. I'm going to get a workout out of it. But then I said, and then I go, well, I'm going to try again. So I might as well try to do another 5K. So I reset myself. I thought I felt fine again. And then again, after the 800 meters just felt off, I guess.
And you mentioned that you felt, ticked at yourself. Can you expand on that a little bit? What's going through your head and how do you deal with that and come back to this conversation, be able to talk about it? And yeah, I'm just wondering a little bit deeper, why and how?
Yeah, well, I guess a little bit ticked because in my head, the goal is so achievable, but of course it's easier said than done. And maybe a bit naive of myself to hey, I could go out there any day of the week and rip a 20-minute 5K, but really you have to put in some work to do that. And I proved it to myself right there. Didn't run in 8 days and then just tried to rip a 20-minute 5K. Did not work for me. So kind of a little bit of a wake up call, ticked as in, yeah, it's a wake up call, but sometimes those decisions are like, it's a hard lesson learned. And it's kind of just, like you said, a kick in the ass to just keep going. And honestly, just gonna, it kind of just lights the fire. And obviously we're getting really close to the May 3rd weekend. I also am reassessing, and I think I'm going to go out there not super, like, I'm not going to go out there too aggressively, but try to match my PR pace and then try to beat it. Like you said, kind of, Brian, on the second half, try to beat that PR pace because I know the course a little bit better than last year. So yeah, just learning, a little bit ticked because I'm just frustrated with myself, but also good, hey, kick in the ass. You actually have to train if you want to get fast.
Yeah, and Brian, you kind of mentioned it a little bit, but on that topic of kind of race to expectation, goal expectations, does the result from that 10K time trial, like, has that changed at all your strategy? I know you said like PR versus just the sub 90 group, but kind of what are you thinking from that session?
Yeah, so like I'm a little bit mixed in my feelings about this, because on one hand, about 2 weeks ago, I did a very, like, I was super comfortable. I think I did 14K at sub half marathon pace, and every 2K I was climbing like a 50-meter hill, and it felt incredibly good, and it was like a tough workout on a big week and felt great on those legs. So that was like the biggest positive signal of like, I'm as, strong as I've ever been. And then this is like a shot to the opposite direction. So I think I'm grounding myself right now in the fact that going for a PR might not be the most enjoyable way to spend the weekend, and instead seeing the rest of the group succeed at sub 90, being there for that, supporting the crew through that endeavor, and still hitting a phenomenal time myself. Like, I've been sub 90 now a couple times, but it's not a guarantee that you hit it on every single race day. So it's still a huge stretch for me to be in that sub 90 group, in that selection. But it will give me the opportunity to open it up in the last few kilometers when like I feel like I can race. So I think that's really my goal. Is I know I can pull 14 on a good day, like 14K at sub 90 pace on a good day. And I know race day will be a good day after this taper that's beginning today. So I think my goal is like race the first, 10 miles at a comfortable sub 90 pace, kind of teetering on the edge there. And then after that, see what's in the tank, see how the crew's doing. If, Mark and McDuff are feeling strong, then like push them to come with me. If they're fading off, then I'm kind of like having to race my own race, and that's also good. And just see what I can do as I close out that. And if I can negatively split that last quarter of the race, I would call that a very successful day. So we will see.
Nice. Yeah. I think like a good kind of rule of thumb that you pretty much explained very well is like, when you're looking at the training, kind of, you mentioned a few weeks ago you had that one session, big green flag, and then you have that one, and I wouldn't even call it a bad session, but a session that feels like a setback. I feel like that's pretty safe to ignore in general, or not have to kind of like overthink and reevaluate. It's kind of, if you have those 2 to 3 kind of sessions in a row where you're having like 3-4 weeks in a row where you're very off pace, maybe then it's time to adjust kind of that A goal. And for you, like, there might be different kind of things to consider of what you want out of the day. But I don't know. I still think if you wanted to just send it for that original A goal, I feel like one red flag is not enough to stop that.
100%. And I've always been one to like, my rule of thumb, and I've always been one to say this, is a third of your days should feel great. A third of your days should just feel okay. And a third of your days should feel like shit. I don't know where I heard that, but it was something about endurance sports and just like, the grind of trying to perform means that not every day is going to be successful and not every day is going to feel good. And you're not going to walk away with, sunshines and rainbows at the end of every session. Some sessions should be really hard. And I look at like going into the fall last year, I was failing almost every single marathon pace workout. Part of that was the heat, and also Saturday was quite hot. I don't know about you, Tyler, in Ottawa, if it was also a little bit steamy, but like all of those things together, it's one data point that was in my mind not a success, whereas the rest of my block has maybe been the best execution that I've done thus far. So, I think the goal is still to be there for the boys in motion rather than just be chasing a PR myself. I'm really comfortable with my current fitness, and I love just being able to hit a sub 90 goal, but 85 will come when I want to go and do that, I think.
Yeah, I mean that I think we've said that a couple times. Yeah, I've heard that before, the 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. And yeah, it's very true. And you don't have to base your whole block or your whole execution plan on, one failed workout or one, bad workout. But I mean, when it comes race day, what I love about running actually and race day is you just got to send it, Sally, and see what happens. So I think on a nice day, you get how it is, the race vibes, of course, everybody around you. The weather might be nice and cool in the morning. You just can't wait to hit your lips with that first sip of a pint afterwards. I mean, all those things will give me extra seconds, and I know it will give you guys some extra seconds there too. And yeah, I just can't wait to get to that finish line with big boys.
Yeah, and just to kind of close the loop there, I think like the other thing is just what we're doing here is like workouts. These are not races. So I know all of us use VDOT, and I think like it's so easy to be like, oh, even myself, I did a half marathon tune-up, not the best conditions, same thing, kind of a big headwind on one of the segments, and then you put it into VDOT and you start freaking out if it's a couple minutes off of what it thinks that a race could be. But you kind of need to consider, like, I'm doing this solo, I didn't do any carb load, I've been having a full week, no taper, no one to pace off of. So there's a bunch of different factors there that this is just a workout for a stimulus, and that kind of the energy of race day does bring an extra factor that I think is free speed. So I wouldn't say it's quite concerned to be freaking out if you're, still within that ballpark of where you want to be.
Frig, as you were chatting, yeah, that is a good point. As you were chatting, was checking my workout stats on VDOT, saying I'm hitting a 135 marathon right now. That is not good, folks. I think I'll have to prove VDOT wrong here and cut it at least a couple minutes. But yeah, it's a fun little approximation, but definitely not an indicator, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is the whole thing, is use each session as a little point of feedback, and don't let one bad day change the whole mindset of the block. And I think, Andrew, it means a lot coming from somebody as experienced as you, who has had even like great race days and also pretty tough and bad race days as well, in that like there's so much variability when you're in the sport for long enough that, not every day that you go out and train is a PR, not every day is going to be a good one. But changing and adjusting your race expectations, while it's smart, you don't need to use every single point of feedback to make those decisions. And you also don't need to be like too reactive to the negative outliers, because you also have positive outliers. And I think the usual thing that goes through your brain is, if you have a good day, well, good, that was just your expectation. And if you have a bad day, well, that's terrible, your world is ending. Because we're so used to just like whatever you hit is now the new baseline.
Yeah, that is a good point, actually. And now, like you say, you don't want to like have this be your defining moment, let's call it, of the block. And like, I'm just thinking of myself. I don't know about you, Brian. I mean, you said taper. I didn't even realize we're in taper. time right here, but like I have a nice workout planned with the Bonkosaurus Rexes themselves, Kyle and Mustafa, tomorrow. Well, I guess we're going to be releasing it, so it'll be today. And I'm excited to go out there, crush some miles and get some speed back in me, and just to see, how that bounce back is. And I think that's also just as important, to see how you and your mental state reacts to that, let's call it quote unquote failed workout, right? Like we could easily have just been like, yep, hang up the shoes. We're just going to do a leisurely run on May 3rd because we didn't hit the workout. But I mean, I think the week by week, you bouncing back, you getting back into it, just shows the mindset, and shows how you just take that as a building block and keep moving forward, kind of don't dwell on it. And I'm hoping that today's workout, let's call it, will go better than the weekend. So stay tuned for that. I'll wait for the investigators to check that out on.
Now, I do have, I think, one benefit of failing workouts or failing goals in general is that I think the next time you come and try to tackle them, you're hungrier. You want it. You know what it feels like to fail. So, Tyler, I do want to know, because I know the sub 20 is kind of a bigger overarching goal for you. And it won't be happening this block because it is time to taper and you shouldn't try again. But how are you feeling for hitting that goal? And maybe what have you learned from this block that you might need to change to get there?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I'm happy you asked it, because a part of me, and I have to admit, I did ask Coach Trevor, should I be hitting just 5Ks every weekend trying to hit sub 20? And he said, no, do not do that. It's not productive and you will probably not get it for a while. But yeah, like you said, I think it just makes me more hungry to hit that goal. But at the same time, I do have to be patient, build that fitness back up and get up to speed and comfortably. I think of course, I can't say of course because I haven't hit it, but I could get to those paces for a shorter period of time. I'm just not comfortable within that heart rate yet. And I think I'm going to reassess and honestly make that more of a priority after the beginning of May, that race, get that 21K out of the way, and then do just a short little stint. And also I learned to respect that 5K distance. Everybody says it's just a 5K, but that 5K marathon does bite you when you try to go fast. So I'm going to keep trying. And I think I'm still going to try to do it early in the season, I guess, let's call it early in the summer. So let's say another sub 25K attempt early June for sure. And hopefully we get some speed in me to get that sub 25K. And then I can move on to those longer distances, low, slow burning engine, just like I like.
Okay. So you heard it here. Tyler is doing an attempt by mid-June. So here's my challenge, Tyler. Me, the 40-minute, you, the 20-minute, 10K, 5K, a challenge off. But I think we need something on the line. And I'm trying to think of what it could be. Andrew, do you have any ideas on what we can put on the line?
Frig, I like this. Any ideas?
I'm doing some quick investigation because I need to know the how close both of you are to this challenge.
That is true.
I'm
that
teetering.
Is true.
Yeah, you're teetering.
Strava says I'm there.
How close are you?
Strava says I'm 39.
Well,
same with Goros.
Okay, well my watch says I'm 20.
Oh, so you're right there as well.
So I'm 28 seconds on. Yeah. I honestly think I have to put a couple weeks of speed work in.
Yeah.
And
now I look at my watch today actually.
But I say that
my watch says 40-20. So we are just as close.
Oh, so we're the same
to that target as each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
I'm just checking. Yeah, mine's 2036.
Okay.
Right
so
now.
Both very close. I would say the one thing we need to guarantee is you're doing it on some sort of loop so that it's not like a point to point where you can cheat with elevation or wind. Yeah, straight down. Yeah, that would be nice.
Straight down the gas, right down the Gatineau Hills.
Yeah, from Champlain Lookout, bomb it.
Just bomb. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe a nice, or no, it's going to be in June. So I was going to say something on the BIM ride, but that'll be after.
I think what we do is we put it to a vote, and when this episode comes out, we put up a poll on our story and see if we can get some creative ideas from the community and get something silly going on.
I like
I
that.
like that. So like ask the community what should the wager be, and then all of the good ones we'll put those up in a poll and we'll see what's the most miserable one that we can bet.
Maybe that'll actually get me off my ass to do it because, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I got to figure it out, but I think I'm gonna get the fire pretty soon and
I like it.
gonna start going.
Yeah, I think it should be good. Do you think are both of you like Tyler? I guess first, are you thinking just doing another time trial, or are you jumping into an event for that extra motivation?
Greg, I don't even know. I don't even know if there's 5K events near me in June, but I'm thinking just a TT. And again, I really like let's call it spontaneous try. So you'll see me one morning just attempt it and go for glory, I think.
Okay, I like it. I'm looking forward to it.
I think my answer is pretty similar. I have not looked into an actual race to do it. I would consider doing a race. I'm gonna kind of look around, see if there's anything where the timing actually does work pretty well. But honestly, if nothing works super well for that, I might just try to go out and do it myself. I think there's something glorious about just like going out and actually hitting a PR without the crowds, without the cheers, just you and the mind and the legs if they're answering the calls.
I mean, you could come to Ottawa for race weekend. We could do a Saturday night duel. I'll do the 5K, then you go into the 10K, and
You know
we
what?
just
I
duel.
actually have a date in Ottawa, I believe, right before the BIM ride, like 2 days before the BIM ride. So the Wednesday before the BIM ride, I'll see you.
Okay, we'll see how we feel. We might have
That's
to
a little
attempt it then.
earlier than mid-June, so you gotta get right back into speed work.
But I think this is great, right? It would
Go.
it would actually line up really well. You know, it's 1 month after the half, so we have, or it's about 1 month after the
What day is it?
27th.
The 20th?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I got
So we
plenty of
do it the
time.
27th of May. We get some, some content going out. We have the challenge. You can actually run with me and I can run with you because we're both running at the same pace. I'm just going twice as
Exactly.
far.
And then
Frig,
I
I
say,
hope
see you
you
later.
meet me in the back half instead of the front half.
Actually, yeah, that would be pretty cool. I mean, yeah, we could aim for the 27th, see how it goes.
Yeah.
I'm
All
I'm
right.
kind of
Well,
down.
let's tentatively draw that in and then we'll have something to celebrate with
Get it out of
the
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 way.
boys at the BIM ride.
I like that.
So the one thing I wanted to ask is, although you didn't hit your time trial, Brian, I do see that you picked up a CR on your 10K. So how is that going for your progress?
Oh geez, yeah, the KOMs are quickly accumulating. Now that the cycling season is in as well, I'm starting to be able to like go out on a Tuesday and casually get, a few KOMs. It's definitely harder than I thought because it's a lot of time of like planning the course, trying to find ones that are a little bit soft or like mixing in some that are tougher. But excited now that the bike is back on the platter because I think that's where I'll get the majority. I think probably by the end of it, about at least 65% will be bike KOMs. They're just a little bit easier for me. And you can also go a much wider distance from home to like actually go and hit them. So, yeah, feeling pretty good. I definitely will need to pick up a lot after the half marathon is done. And really, like, yeah, May and June is going to be dedicated to just sniping. But what's hilarious is I'm seeing this go viral on Instagram now. Like, there's so many reels of segment snipers. I don't know if you guys have seen them. There's one guy in Australia who's super big, and then there's another guy who I think he might be in Toronto, but he does it in the Speed McQueen, Lightning McQueen Crocs, and they're ripping like way faster paces than me.
That's hilarious. I like
I
that
remember I
idea.
used to see there was this girl that would always like go try to like rip or KOMs from like professional athletes, but these professional athletes would be getting them during like long workouts, and she would go for like a really easy jog and then just sprint. And then she's like, I just like the thought of a professional athlete getting an email from me that I stole the KOM is just too nice.
That is the essence of what I'm doing, except I'm not taking it from pros. I'm taking it from other weekend warriors like myself. But I will say, I got my first email of the year which was that somebody took a KOM from me. Not one that I already set this year, but a different one that I set last year. So I might need to go snipe that back. Maybe I'll give them a shout out in the description of that activity when I actually snipe it. But yeah, it's been fun. It was definitely very tough during the winter to actually go and get KOMs because of the conditions. But now it's really good, and I'm starting to really like enjoy that like 1 minute, 2 minute hard effort. It's a space where I feel really, really comfortable, especially on the bike. I'm a punchier rider. I'm not really able to go like 2 hours with a lot of watts per kilo. And I can sprint pretty darn good, but like it's not the strongest part of my game. So yeah, we'll see how it keeps progressing. But the count is at 15 right now.
Nice. That's
For
I mean
tally,
it's not bad.
how are you tallying that? Like how are you tracking that? Sorry.
I plus like I just increment it every time.
Okay. Because I was gonna say, if someone takes it back,
I keep it. Yeah. It's
like,
just about setting them.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's going well so far. We're over a third of the way done the year, so I'm like quite a few behind. So I've really got to press the gas. But that's what the cycling is for.
Now, before we wrap, there was, lots of events that are happening. I mean, Boston Marathon happened this weekend, but more local to us. Did you guys hear about the coffee party run that happened in Toronto this weekend? No? Okay. So basically, it was announced, I think a month and a half, 2 months ago, kind of post Burrito League, that coffee party, which is they do these like daytime coffee raves where it's like, you're having coffee, but it's like kind of that club vibe. But that they were hosting a 48-hour run. Originally it was supposed to be by the CN Tower, but then they switched it to Coronation Park. And the winner, whoever did the most loops, so it was a 1 kilometer loop, got a $5,000 prize. So there's a pretty big prize that was up for grabs. Unfortunately, it was not in the city, so did not participate, which was probably a good thing, because I would have probably done some silly things. But there was some burrito people that did join. And the big shout out is to Nancy, who ended up doing 180K over the 48 hours. So she put in a crazy, crazy effort.
Incredible. Well, kudos to her. That's crazy.
Even crazier, the winner. So there was a big group, and I think there was a pretty big competition. But the winner was actually a 50-year-old woman that did 180 miles. So took that 180K and said freedom units that 180.
That's insane. That's like 300K.
Yeah, and I believe.
Did you follow what she was doing? Like, did she have a strategy?
I mean, when I was looking at her activity, she had about I think it was either 44 or 46 moving time. So there was not much time where she was not moving. There was like a decent stint where, she was definitely walking and probably walking quite slow, probably refueling and stuff. But from the looks of it, she was essentially just moving the whole time. And it looks like maybe she took like a 2-hour power nap or something. So I'm excited to see Nancy and a few of the others to actually hear, some more about the experience.
That's absolutely nutty. So the
That's outrageous.
Core people that we knew from the Burrito League, Nancy was kind of the top finisher. Did either of the two that you were competing with who podiumed at Burrito League also do this run?
Paul did not, but Josh did. He was, I messaged him and he said, I just had a 50K on the schedule because he's training for a 100-miler. So he just went out and did his 50K on the loop. So he went out and kind of supported and did his effort, but wasn't trying to go for the win. But then there was a bunch of other people that just kind of mixed it into their long run and stuff.
Yeah, that sounds like a fun community event, though. Yeah, I saw his loop was just... okay, so I was wondering, I'm like, why did he do a 50K again around a random, what was it? Like a 0.5, 0.8
I think
kilometer
about a kilometer. They might have changed it. Originally, it was supposed to be a kilometer, but they switched it to Coronation, which I think was a really good move, because before it was like right at the CN Tower, like right by Rogers Stadium, and I think it would have been like just chaos with trying to dodge people. And the loop is
Yeah.
really nice, where it was all like rec trail, no crossings or anything. So it was actually, I think,
Yeah.
a pretty ideal loop, and not as sharp turns as the burrito loop, that's for sure.
And not as icy.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It was cold this weekend, so I'm sure, man, I can't even imagine what that second night was like, because I know the coldness. I know the
Yeah, that's
coldness was the
crazy.
issue, and like having to do that up and down twice. Ugh.
2 nights in a row. Yeah. I mean, that's next level. I think that's just another, kind of another gritty thing. I did see so now that you say that, yeah, I did see the first Instagram post about it. It was the loop stuff, and I was excited to see how that would end. So I'm glad to see that. But I mean, 48 hours of just pure grit and grind is next level. And I guess too, since we've actually talked too, there has been the BPN go one more backyard ultra too, buddy, with the wheelchair doing what, 100 something miles. Absolutely nutty.
Yeah, the videos of him like dragging it through the mud and having to tap out are insane. It's like you see that and you're like, I'm not allowed to complain.
100%.
And then one more piece of interesting news is, I don't know if you guys have seen Ryan Gallagher. That's Ryan Runs. I think last fall he did 21 half marathons in a row for Pathstone Mental Health in St. Catharines. But this coming fall, I believe, at the track at Brock University, they're hosting a 441k cumulative run. I don't think like any one person is going out and doing that, but I think like the goal is like in a few hours, the cumulative total should be that or more, which is quite interesting. And I guess he raised $72,000 or over 72k last year for like a mental health organization here in Niagara, and like planning to continue that into year two. I know like the I don't know if it's Coffee Trotters or Cruisers that like reposted it, but certainly something to look into. And I would encourage anybody in the community to kind of like, if you're listening to this and that's something that would interest you and you're in Niagara, would definitely look up Ryan Runs 21 or a 441 kilometer run in St. Catharines, because there looks to be quite a big group going out and doing that, which seems very interesting.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds sweet. That sounds like just incorporated in your long run or something. Especially if it's not like a 48 where you need to commit to the full thing. It's just contributing to the total. That's nice.
Yeah, I like that. I'll have to definitely check it out too. Maybe friggin' rip a run in the fall if I'm there on one
Yeah,
of those
exactly.
days.
Well, all things considered, I think this was a fun episode to record. It was fun to look back on some of the struggles that we had. But, all eyes are on the Toronto Marathon weekend here. Andrew, really excited to be able to sit back, relax after we're done and watch you finish strong. And I'm glad, the brewery plans are already starting. If you're listening to this and you're going to be in there for the race weekend, reach out to one of us. We'll try to get you on the guest list for our post-race patio beers. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think the taper is well earned. For me, I think I trained for like 6 weeks dedicated in this block. So, a 2-week taper feels like a lot of this block, but I'm not mad about it. And yeah, excited to have the legs, spring back a little bit.
And if you got value from this, share this with a training partner or someone who's been grinding it out lately. Make sure you follow us on all our platforms as per usual. Join our Strava group. Stay in tune with our community and get ready for the next upcoming
And just
events.
a weekly reminder, we're not coaches or medical professionals, just here to share our experiences so that you can see what works for you and always listen to your body.
So stack those days, trust the process, and enjoy that taper. We'll see you on the next one.